Can you see the screen?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
sir.
Yeah. So these companies will later on sell the shares, okay, to the general public at whatever suitable price they feel. Okay, so they are not going to tell you that we are going to sell the 100 rupees share for 200 rupees. No, whatever, if they feel it can be sold for 200, they will sell it for 200. If they feel that it can be sold for 150 rupees, they will sell it for 150 rupees. But as a company, you are free of all those hassles that will I get money or no. So your money is already in your hand. So that is one of the major advantage. Okay, next is, since you know that this person is going to take all your shares, there is no need to appoint an underwriter, which is one of the major advantages of a private placement. Okay, so if you are willing not to invest or incur huge amount of cost by paying money to the underwriter, you can very well opt for private placements. In such case, the financial institution or the corporate body or the HNI, he himself will act as an underwriter, because he is going to take all your shares. So you need not worry what will happen to the shares if they are unsold or anything. He will take all your shares, so don't worry about it. That is one of the major advantage. Okay, next, what happens in this particular case is you have to properly negotiate your deal with these entities. That means you have to properly negotiate your deal with the financial institution, you have to properly negotiate your deal with the corporate body or with HNI. All this thing is possible. You have to be very, very thorough in negotiating the deal. Okay, see, the buyer will always try to bargain and reduce the price. You as a seller, you will always try to increase the price because you need more money. So you have to decide on the negotiation patterns. Okay, now, who can act as a person in a private placement? Who are the people who can act as a member of the private placement company? Is all AMCs, that is all mutual fund companies, are eligible to participate in the private placement. All insurance companies are eligible to participate in the private placement. Also, the merchant bankers are also eligible to participate in the private placements. So all these are nothing but financial institutions. So all these financial institutions are allowed to participate in the private placements. Okay, now what are the securities that can be sold? So you can sell common equity, you can sell convertible preference shares, debentures and bonds. All this can be done through a private placements. One of the major advantages, as I said, it is very, very cost effective, because you don't have to pay money to lead manager, to registrar. You don't have to pay money to the marketing management to market your offer. You don't have to appoint an advertising agency to make an ad. All these things, all these costs are reduced, and that is the reason it is a very effective and a cost effective mechanism by which shares can be issued. Likewise, it is very, very effective. I told you the time taken to make a public offer, raise money through public offer, get the money, allot shares, on an average it takes around 3 months time. But this process will be completed in just 20 or 21 days. That is the time effectiveness of time as far as private placements is concerned. Next is, it is structure effective. So when I say the word structure effective, just imagine how many people are involved as far as an IPO is concerned. There are so many people who are involved. There are so many approvals that you have to take. Okay, so there are that is a lot of structural hierarchy as far as an IPO is concerned. But here the structure is very simple. It is you as a seller and the next person as a buyer. Apart from that, there is no other person, right? And as a result, it is very, very structure effective, and most important thing is, of course, it is very, very economical also. Only condition is, to make this private placement successful, you should be a recognized or a well reputed company. Only then people will come forward and invest your money. Otherwise, no company will ever come and invest your money. So that is what we have to understand as far as private placement is concerned. Any doubts in this? Any doubts in private placements? Okay, I see some chats.
No, sir, no doubts.
Fine.
No, sir.
No, sir.
We go to another type of a offer. This is called as a brought out deal, or it's also called, in some books it is also called as offer for sale. Now, before I explain to you what is this, I want you to just go through this quickly so that I can explain to you the exact meaning of it. Okay. Okay, now this looks very, very similar to private placement, but this is something different from private placement. Okay, now in a private placement, whatever money that you required, okay, whatever money that you required, you took money, all the money from one or two parties who were involved in that particular contract, isn't it? So you offered all the shares to those particular companies, whatever was your authorized capital, you offered all those shares to those companies, and then you raised money from that particular party or from that particular client. That is what we call as a private placement. But what is a brought out deal? It is very similar to private placement. The only condition here is you are not allowed to give all your shares. You can only give a part of it. That is what it says. Offload a part of promoter's capital, not the whole. In private placement, you can give the entire capital. You can raise the entire equity capital from the other party. But in this particular case, you cannot raise all the capital from the outside parties. A part of the capital can be only raised, and that too promoter's capital can only be raised as far as a brought out deal is concerned. Okay, so the word clearly says it is a type of an issue wherein an existing company, that means an already existing company, offloads a part, that is very important, offloads a part of promoter's capital to a wholesaler instead of a public. Now, this part is similar to private placement, no doubt about it. But the only condition is in private placement, you could offload the entire equity and take all the money. But in case of a brought out deal or offer for sale, you have to offload only a part of equity, and that too specifically, you have to offer only promoter's capital. That is very important for you to understand. Now, who can be a wholesaler here? A wholesaler can be a merchant bank, or it could be a investment bank. Now, what is a merchant bank? What is an investment bank? I think in banking and financial services class, Prayag sir will tell you what is a merchant bank and what is an investment bank, right? But just understand, there are two types of banks. One is a merchant bank and one is an investment bank, right? Now, this particular investment bank will acquire and hold the shares for a certain period of time at an appropriate date, and then it will offer it to the public. Now, remember one more point of differentiation. In case of a private placement, the company who entered into that particular deal, who took all the shares from you and gave you the money, that company might think of a suitable time and date to sell off its shares to the general public. So there is no fixed time limit defined for a private placement. Whereas in case of a brought out deal, the time period is fixed. That means once you have given money to that particular company, once the company has offloaded a part of its promoter's capital and given to you the shares, and you have given money to that particular company, once those shares are with you, you cannot sell those shares for next 70 days, right? And you cannot hold those shares for more than a year. That is what it says. So minimum you have to keep the shares with you for a minimum of 70 days, and you cannot keep those shares with you for more than a year. That is a condition that differentiates between a private placement and a offer for sale. In a private placement, there is no limit defined as to when the shares can be made available to the public, but here the condition is very clearly defined that the shares could be made available for the public after 70 days, and less than 1 year the shares can be made available to the public. So that is very important point of differentiation. One is what the part of equity, promoter's equity is offloaded in offer for sale, and minimum time you have to keep the shares with you is 70 days and maximum is 1 year. Whereas in private placement, you can offload the entire equity and there is no fixed time limit as to how many days the shares should be kept with the financial institution, the corporate bodies, or the HNIs. They can keep the shares any number of time, and whenever they find it suitable, they can sell it to the general public. So that is a point of differentiation as far as offer for sale and a private placement is concerned. Okay. Next, the price that is offered to the public is decided by the merchant bank. Of course, they are going to sell it, so they are going to decide the price, and it is usually at a premium. See, merchant bankers are very smart people. They will never make a loss for themselves and sell anything to you. They will always make a profit, and only then they sell it to you. So whenever they want to make a profit, they will charge a higher amount of money, and that higher amount of money is called a premium, right? So this is how the concept of brought out deal actually works. Now, among all that we discussed so far, which is more effective? Private placement is more effective as far as quick issue of shares is concerned, and otherwise the regular IPO is also very effective. So this offer is there. This is a type of an offer, but as far as usage is concerned, it is not much used as far as placing shares is concerned. Is that clear?
Sir, why there is a limit, maximum limit of 1 year?
What happened?
Sir, why there is a maximum limit of 1 year holding period?
See, what happens is usually when you try to hold shares, okay, it is like you are holding an inventory. Just forget about these shares. Suppose you are a trader, Narayan, and you are a onion and a potato trader. You start building up your inventory, but you don't sell. What will happen? Are you there, Narayan? Suppose you are a
Yes,
trader,
sir.
you purchase onions and potatoes, okay, and let us say for simple reason, you also purchase garlic, and you start storing them. You don't sell in the market. You start storing those commodities in your godown. What will happen to the price of those commodities?
Due to shortage, it may increase, sir.
Yes, you are creating an artificial shortage, and because you have created an artificial shortage, the price of those commodities will start going up, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Are you able to understand, Narayan, what I'm trying to tell you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
On similar basis, if you try to hold those shares for a lot of or a considerable higher number of time, what happens? The price of that particular share starts increasing, right? The price of those particular shares starts increasing unnecessarily, okay? And that is the reason to see to it that there is no unnecessary inflation in that particular price. The government has come up with a regulation that you cannot retain those shares for more than a year. That is what it says.
Okay, sir.
Clear? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, anything else? Rashmi, do you have a question?
No, sir.
Okay. Next, we come to rights issue. Okay. Now, what is a rights issue? Can anyone tell me rights issue? I had already explained to you what do you mean by rights issue. Can anyone tell me what is a rights issue? What do you mean by rights issue?
Offering shares under the rights issue.
Okay. Just first thing, the rights issue is rights shares are it's a type of an issue wherein shares are first offered to the existing shareholders. The first line itself tells you. Right issue means an issue of capital to its existing shareholders under whatever section 81 subsection 1 of the Companies Act 1956. Okay. So what are you doing? You are a company. You have already issued shares to the people. Your shares are trading in the stock exchange. But for some or the other reason, you require more money now. You don't want to go to the bank because you feel that paying interest to the bank is too heavy. So what do? You want to raise fresh money. So if you want to raise fresh money, okay, and you don't qualify for FPO, you don't qualify for fast track issue also, the only option left for you is to raise money through rights issue. In rights issue, the only condition that you have to satisfy is the shares should be first made, the shares should be first offered to your existing shareholders. Okay, and these shares should be offered in a certain ratio. Okay, and the ratio could be something like for every 5 shares that any shareholder is holding, you can offer him 1 share, or for every 10 shares that could be 1 share. So the ratio could be in 10:1, ratio could be 2:1, ratio could be 3:1, 4:1, 5:1. That depends on the company how many shares you want to issue. So it is done on a ratio basis. These shares are offered to the general public or not general public, to the existing shareholders. Okay, and the existing shareholders have, you need to give them a time. You need to give them minimum 15 days to accept your offer. In these 15 days, if the existing shareholders accept your offer and pay you money, you can give them the shares. But in these 15 days, if the existing shareholders do not come forward and opt for your shares, okay, then the existing shareholders have to give it to you in writing that they are not interested in the shares, and then you can sell these shares to the general public outside. This process is called renunciation of shares. Second last point, there is an important word, it's called renunciation of shares. The shareholders have the right to renounce. That means your existing shareholders need not accept your offer. If they feel that offer is not good enough, they can renounce their right. That means they can tell you that we are not interested. You can sell these shares to the general public, whoever you want to sell. We are not interested. But this has to come in writing from them. That is called as renunciation of right or renunciation of shares. And once you get the renunciation of shares, okay, and your shareholders are not interested in your shares, only then after the board meeting or board of directors meeting, you can sell these shares to the general public. That is what we call as rights issue. Clear? Now, honestly tell me, is it becoming too heavy for you? Because I very well know many of you have not even studied so much in detail. Is it becoming too heavy? Are you there or have you left?
Yes, sir. There, sir.
Yeah, you are there. Is it becoming too heavy for you to understand all these things?
No, sir.
Some chats. What are those chats? Clear with this? So what we have discussed today, we have discussed what are the contents of the draft, contents of the prospectus. I showed you that SBI cards PDF file. Okay. Then we saw what do you mean by follow-up offer. We saw what is a fast track issue. Okay. Then we saw what is a private placement. We have also seen what do you mean by brought out deal. Okay. And the next one that we have seen is what do you mean by rights issue. The last part that is available to us, it is called book building process. Okay, this is the last type of issue. This is called a book building process. I'll give you an example of a book building process. Have you heard of a company called Nirma? Nirma Detergents?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Nirma company.
Yes, sir.
Nirma company started with a loan of 7,000 rupees from Union Bank of India. So the owner of that company did not have even 7,000 rupees to start a company called Nirma. And by the way, Nirma is the name of his daughter. Okay, Nirma is the name of his daughter. So that time when he had been to the bank said, fine, we will give you a loan, but in whose name should we give the loan? Right? Where is the name of the company? So nothing came to his mind. So he said, I will give my daughter's name itself to that company. And today that company is called Nirma Detergents, Nirma Chemicals and Soaps Limited. Okay. So this is how the story of Nirma came into picture. So Nirma, when it took a loan of 7,000 rupees, it started manufacturing washing powders. The product was a big hit. They wanted to expand their company. They wanted to have manufacturing units across India. And that is the time they said that we want to raise money through a book building process. Now, book building process is nothing but it's a form of an IPO, okay, wherein there is a simple condition. And the condition is, in a book building process, by the way, the concept of book building process came from America. It is not an Indian concept. The concept is a American concept. What happens in a book building process is, I'll take the example of Nirma itself. Nirma said that we want to raise money and we would like to make an offer of shares. We want to sell shares, and the number of shares that we want to sell is 1 crore. We want to sell 1 crore shares to the people. But if you observe, Nirma never specified at what price. Okay, Nirma never said at what price we are going to sell the shares. So in a book building process, what happens is, here it's a process of marketing your offer to the general public. The only condition is you don't specify the price. You just specify the number of shares that you want to issue. Price is decided by the government. Oh, sorry, the price is decided by the general public. Okay. So suppose if I make this offer through a book building process, okay, what I will do is I will give you an offer that I want to issue shares worth 1 crore, okay, and I'm not specifying the price. I'm saying that I'm creating a price band. Okay, the word here they use is called as a price band. Okay, that means they give you a band. Now what will happen? I will start collecting bids from you. Okay, so I'll collect one bid from Rashmi. Rashmi says I am ready to purchase this shares if it is made available to me at 80 rupees. So fine, I got one bid, okay, from Rashmi at 80 rupees. Probably Narayan says I want to buy it for 85 rupees, so I get the second bid. Somebody else, Aryan says I want to buy it for 100 rupees, so I get the third bid. Okay, so I will collect bids from all of you. So once I collect bids from all of you, I will come to know what is the range in which people are ready to buy my offer. So I know 80 rupees is the minimum range and probably 120 rupees is the higher range. Okay, so then once I know what is the price band, that is 80 and 120, looking at this particular price band, I will offer shares to you. Okay, now whoever has quoted the highest price will always get the first priority, and people who have quoted low will get the last priority. So this is how the concept of book building runs. And the person who is in charge for this, or the person who does this particular activity, he is called as a book runner. Okay, he is called as a book runner, and basically he is one of the lead managers in that particular offer. Okay, if there are four lead managers, one of them will become the book runner, and he will do all this activity for you. And the process by which the money is generated, or the process by which the shares are offered and the money is collected, this process is called a book building, because here price is not been disclosed, only a price band is been decided. I get bids from you, okay, and depending on the bid, I know what is the average price that I have to offer. I know what is the lowest price. I know what is the highest price. So in that particular window, I offer shares to you. Clear? So if you look at this particular process, you will understand. So it says the issuer nominates a lead manager. So here I will take the issuer as Nirma Detergents. Okay, lead manager, they had approached State Bank of India, they had approached HSBC, they had also approached a company called Citibank. Okay, I'm just giving a hypothetical case. So let us assume that they had approached three lead merchant bankers, and one of them became a book runner. Okay, now the issuer specified the number of securities to be issued and the price band. Remember, he has not told the price, he has just told a price band. Okay, that is very important. The issuer appoints a syndicate member, that means a group of members, okay, with whom the orders have been placed. So you can just go through this. Most important thing is, see here, the syndicate member receives orders from investors through bidding process. Okay, so here he collects bids. That is very important. And once the bid is done, then they decide what should be the price band. Generally, this offer is kept open for 3 days to a maximum of 10 days. So minimum 3 days this offer should be available for general public, and maximum the offer should be available is 10 days, not more than 10 days. Okay. Next, the bids that are received are revised by the bidder before the issue closes, and after the price is decided, the shares have been issued at that particular price. Again, I am telling, in a price band, people who offer the highest bid, they are the people who will get the shares first. People who offer the lowest bid, they may get the shares last, or they may never get it also. Okay, if you don't get the shares, your money will come back to you, but if you get the shares, you will be the last people to get the shares in that particular priority list. Is that clear? So this is the process of a book building process. Okay, today SEBI has made it mandatory for all companies that if you want to issue shares, in the form of an IPO, it has to be in the form of a book building process only. Okay, which means companies cannot decide the price is decided by the people. So that flexibility is available as far as the book building process is concerned. Okay, so these are the different types of offers through which shares can be issued. One is the regular IPO, second is follow-up, third is fast track. Next one is private placement, brought out deal, rights issue, and the last one is the book building process. So this is what I had to tell you about the book building process. In the next class, we'll start with the types of investors. I told you that there is something called as QIB, there is something called as NII, there is non-institutional investors, and there is something called as retail investors. You and me come in this particular bracket. All of us come in this particular bracket. Okay. Here banks come in, and here we have qualified institutional buyers. So we'll study this all in detail in the next class. Clear? Till this point, if you have any doubts, please let me know. I'll clarify all the doubts. Otherwise, we'll stop the class.